A $5,000 electric car from Africa shouldn't stand a chance against a Tesla. And yet, what happened on this road today might completely rewrite the global EV playbook. Two cars, one challenge, a real-world range test across brutal heat, mixed terrain, and unpredictable road conditions. Tesla, the global icon of performance and engineering brilliance, versus a low-cost prototype built for resilience, efficiency, and affordability. But somewhere along this journey, the numbers started shifting in ways no one expected. And by the time both vehicles approached the final stretch, everything the industry believed about EVs was suddenly in question. The idea was simple: take a standard Tesla Model 3 long range known for reliability and premium engineering, and pit it against an African-built $5,000 EV most people had never even heard of. On paper, it looked like a mismatch. The Tesla offered advanced aerodynamics, a massive battery pack, and industry-leading software. The African AV, a lightweight frame, modest motor, and a battery that cost less than a set of Tesla tires. The test route stretched to 220 miles across open highways, rough edges of village roads, and long rural straights where temperatures would push the limits of both cars. Each vehicle was fully charged the night before. Tire pressures matched. Drivers briefed, cameras rolling. Everything was set to create the fairest comparison possible. To the production crew, this test was expected to become a showcase of Tesla's dominance and perhaps a small celebration of African engineering ambition. No one really predicted the underdog would survive even half the distance. But the first sign that this wasn't a typical comparison appeared just 40 miles into the journey, when battery readings began behaving differently than anyone expected. At the 40-mile checkpoint, the Tesla was sitting at around 78% completely normal for the terrain and speed. The African EV, though, it was still at 90%. The team assumed it was a calibration issue or a glitch in the AFA software. A cheap car couldn't possibly maintain that kind of efficiency. So they reset the monitor, checked the external battery meter, and compared readings with the backup device. Every measurement said the same thing. But no one wanted to jump to conclusions. A long journey meant anything could happen: battery sag, heat stress, speed variation, or terrain challenges, so both cars moved on. Around 80 miles in, something more interesting occurred. The underdog EV, despite its tiny motor, was barely warming up. The Tesla, however, started drawing more power as cabin temperature fluctuated and the terrain became uneven. What shocked the team wasn't the difference in energy draw, but how consistently the African AV maintained its efficiency. Tesla minus 33%, African EV minus 58%, the underdog wasn't just keeping up. It was pulling ahead, hard. And for the first time, the possibility of the cheaper car winning the entire test felt real. By 100 miles, the Tesla had dropped below 55%. The underdog? Still above 70%. The whispers began. Was this car really this efficient, or was something strange happening? No one had answers yet. But the silence inside the chase vehicle said everything. The midpoint of the test 110 miles was designed to push both. As the convoy pushed past 150 miles, the Tesla's battery curve turned steeper than expected. The Model 3, built for performance, handled acceleration beautifully, but that wasn't the goal today. Range tests punish weight, air resistance, and internal cooling loads. And the Tesla, with its premium construction and large battery pack, was accumulating tiny inefficiencies with every mile. Meanwhile, the African AV moved with surprisingly steady behavior. It didn't accelerate fast, didn't brake aggressively, and didn't strain on inclines. Its lightweight body was working in its favor, requiring far less energy to maintain speed. It was almost gliding. At mile 165, the Tesla dropped below 20%. The African EV was still at 45%. The energy graph on the cruise tablet showed a widening gap that no one believed possible at the start of the day. The host leaned closer to the screen, trying to make sense of it. "Guys, this shouldn't be happening." The Tesla driver radioed in, reporting noticeable power reduction as the battery management system activated protection mode. The African EV driver reported no changes, just steady consumption. Suddenly, this wasn't a comparison. It was a revelation. Reaching the final 30 miles turned the atmosphere electric. The Tesla was on life support, hovering around 11%, and every minor incline felt like another drain on its reserves. The African EV, incredibly, still sat at around 30%. The underdog was cruising comfortably without any signs of thermal throttling or power reduction. The chase vehicles closed in, recording every angle. The tension was so thick that even the crew stopped speaking casually. Every mile felt like a countdown. At mile 195, the Tesla dropped to 6%. The warnings on its dashboard flashed like a heartbeat. The African EV still had over 20% remaining. It felt almost impossible, yet the numbers were undeniable. At mile 204, just 16 miles from the finish line, the Tesla entered critical low-power mode. Speed was limited, torque reduced. The Model 3 limped forward with whatever battery life it could salvage. The underdog EV passed it effortlessly. Everyone expected the Tesla to die soon, but the moment it finally coasted to a silent stop at mile 207, the reaction was instant. Cameras ran toward the scene. The host stared at the display, equal parts disbelief and excitement, and the African EV. It kept going smooth, steady, unstoppable. The finish line came and went for the African EV at mile 220. It didn't crawl across, it didn't sputter. It rolled confidently, with around 12% battery still remaining. The host flagged it down, eyes wide, hands in the air, still processing what had just happened. The crew circled the vehicle, capturing every angle. This moment wasn't just about a comparison, it was history. A $5,000 AV built in Africa had outperformed the Tesla in a real-world range test. This wasn't a lab. This wasn't a simulation. It was raw, unforgiving road. And the implications were enormous. If a low-cost, lightweight design could achieve this level of efficiency, what would happen when scaled? What would happen when global markets started paying attention? What innovations were hiding in places the world wasn't watching? The host spoke softly, almost reverently. We might be witnessing the beginning of something big. Not just for Africa, not just for EVs, but for what affordable, clean mobility could look like for billions of people. The underdog didn't just win the test. It challenged the blueprint of electric vehicles entirely. Today wasn't supposed to end like this. A $5,000 AV is supposed to beat a Tesla, challenge industry assumptions, or spark a conversation about the future of ultra-efficient mobility. But that's exactly what happened. And whether this prototype becomes a global sensation or remains a quiet breakthrough, one thing is certain. Innovation doesn't always come from the biggest companies or the most expensive labs. Sometimes it comes from unexpected places where creativity is driven by necessity, not luxury. And today, that necessity changed everything.